Alright, well, this is the very last video in this Chypre themed week of videos related to the style. Chypre fragrances that are either fruity Chypres, floral Chypres, leather Chypres, you name it. But today I have 23 niche fragrances that are classified as Chypre fragrances. Now again, I do want to mention I don't own every single fragrance in the world. Sadly, I'm lacking in guirlands, so I don't have any guirlands here. And if I did, I would have featured it in the designer video from a few days ago. But today we're talking about niche fragrances, and these are all Chypre fragrances, and you're going to find out what they are coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian with Smelling Great Fragrance Reviews. That's right, I hope you guys have been enjoying this week of Chypre themed videos. Now, I somehow figured out that it would be great to plan this out. Now, I didn't know that we were going to have the whole quarantine thing happen, but somehow the way this all worked out, I was anticipating some fragrances for this particular video, and I wanted to get every video that's Chypre, themed, all in 1 week, and somehow it ended up this week. So today, I'm speaking about 23 Chypre fragrances. But before we move on, if this is your first time tuning into the channel and you still haven't subscribed to the channel, please click the subscribe button below and also click the bell so you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. So let's jump right into it. But before we jump right into it, I just want to let you know that this is going to be a longer than normal video. So if you don't have the patience, I guess, come back to it and watch it later, or just skip this one completely. But I do have 23 totally different Chypre fragrances from 23 different brands. And we're going to start off the first one with the one that I reviewed a few days ago called Chypre Palatine from the house of MDCI, this one right here. Now this one is a fruity Chypre fragrance, and it smells like a Chypre, but it's actually a lot more than that. It goes into the oriental territory for me, and it goes very balsamic with that Tolu balsam note that's really, really prominent. So if you like ambers and things like that, because this reminds me of a little bit of an amber, well, not a little bit of an amber, a lot of an amber, then you would probably like this one. So as I said in the video review for this fragrance, we are doing a giveaway. If you haven't caught that video, please go watch it. But just keep in mind, giveaways that I'm running currently that were planned before the whole quarantine thing happened will be handled after everything gets back to normal. And going forward, until we're doing this, I will have less and less giveaways on the channel. So go check this review out for this wonderful Chypre fragrance that I find to be very oriental. This is MDCI's Chypre Palatine. Okay, the next one is Orza El Legrand's Chypre Mousse. Now this is a very, very unique Chypre fragrance in it that it has mushroom and kind of like soil and earth smells to it. I did a top 5 with Dahlia of this house. If you haven't caught that, go check it out. And we also mentioned this fragrance in the very, very long video I did with Dana, who we discussed all about Chypres and Oakmoss and Ifra. But this is really wonderful. It's a strange fragrance, but sometimes strange can be beautiful, and I like that about it. It just smells like earth to me. It's got lots of oak moss though. There's like lots of different vegetable and herbal notes in there, so it's very, very unique. It's bitter, it's earthy, it's soil, it's green, mushrooms, oak moss, you name it. Beautiful Chypre. Very, very strange and very, very interesting. So check it out. It's Chypre Mousse from the house of Orza El Legrand. So this next one is a fragrance from a house called Papillon Perfumery. This is Salome. Now I don't have their fragrance Dryad, which is also a Chypre, but this one is also considered a floral Chypre. And this one is really, really gorgeous, but very, very sexy and spicy. And what I like about this one here, it does have lots of animalic notes, but it doesn't really go animalic on me. It goes more cumin because it has castoreum, hyrax, cumin, jasmine, oak moss, carnation, styrax, bergamot, and a lot more. See, typically I'm not really fond of hyrax, but it works wonderfully here. It doesn't smell very bad. I mean, I think hyrax can smell really, really stinky, but it doesn't do that here. It's just a very, very nice balance of those notes. But in the end, it is actually a Chypre, and I would call this, yeah, it is floral because it has the floral notes, and I think the jasmine here is very, very intense. It's a very, very indolic jasmine, which can go kind of fecal and animalic, but it's a gorgeous scent. This is really, really wonderfully sexy. This is Papillon Perfumery Salome. If you don't know it, please do check it out. This next one is from a new indie house, MELOG, and it's called Chypre number 50, this one right here. And this is a non-IFRA compliant Chypre. And here, I was sent this bottle. He had reached out to me and I said, sure, I'd love to check it out because I like Chypres. And he mentioned that he is non-IFRA compliant. He's based out of Vancouver, Canada. So this one features notes of Oakmoss, bergamot, Civet, and I believe the Civet, the musk, non-IFRA compliant. I could be wrong. He did mention the Oakmoss is definitely not IFRA compliant in the Civet or the musk, one of those two notes. But this is a gorgeous, gorgeous floral Chypre fragrance. It has a sweeter touch with the vanilla, but it's not a sweet fragrance. I think the vanilla actually sweetens everything up. But then there's also some jasmine, absolute in here, and rose, so it does go floral, but it does have very, very classic touches to me. And it reminds me of the classics, really, it does. It's wonderful that way. But if you like indie perfumery and you like to support, indie perfumes, and you just like, non-IFRA compliant fragrances, check out MELOG Chypre number 50. It's wonderful. Okay, so this next one is from the house of Amouage. This is Fate Woman. Fate Woman, I think, is very, very masculine to me, and it's considered for me, I think it's traditionally a floral Chypre, but it has lots of spices in it, so I call it a spicy Chypre as well. But it does have some incense in the notes. It's really, really prominent, so it's smoky. And then that cinnamon is also very spicy and warm. And then you've got benzoin. Benzoin, black pepper, narcissus. It's a unique flower. And I really love narcissus as a smell. It just smells wonderful. There's vanilla, chili pepper, labdanum, oak moss, and castoreum. So in the end, it's not so much of a really prominent Chypre, but it does dry down to more of a Chypre. But before it actually kind of like starts smelling like a real Chypre, to me, it's more about the spices and the incense for me. So a very unique fragrance, but really, really one that I really enjoy. And it is really, really intense. It's a long-lasting fragrance. So this is Fate Woman from the house of Amouage. Now this next one I'm obsessed with and I love the way it smells, and it kind of reminds me of the one that I featured in my designer video a few days ago by the house of Mugler Chypre. But this one's Juliet Has a Gun Vengeance Extreme. It's a Chypre floral. Oh man, I can't get enough of this one. It smells really, really sexy, and I really do think it kind of hints at that Chypre from the house of Mugler. This one is patchouli, rose, musk, ambroxan, lavender, vanilla, labdanum, bergamot, and a little bit of oak moss. It is gorgeous. This one I could wear over and over again. It's not too intense. It's not a wimp. It's a nice balance of a very, very sexy Chypre for me to enjoy. Vengeance Extreme from the house of Juliet Has a Gun. It's beautiful. So this next one is from the house of Montal, and this is Chypre Fruity, this one right here. So Chypre Fruity is a fruity Chypre, and it features a lot of tropical fruits. So you've got a lot of concoction of different tropical fruits, and I get like, passion fruit and pineapple and coconuts perhaps, and all of that all rolled into one. And I think that Montal does really, really unique things with fragrances, and sometimes their oddball fragrances are the cool ones, and here it's an oddball one, and it's very, very unique, especially with those tropical fruits. Once you get past the tropical fruits, you also have oak moss, bergamot, there's jasmine, musk, patchouli, and rose. It's another really like it's like from the left field, if that makes sense. It's like, where did they think about putting a fragrance together with tropical fruits? But it does work for me, and it's really, really unique. Once it settles down from the tropical fruits, you do experience some classic touches of a real Chypre. Anyway, Chypre Fruits, or Chypre Fruity from the house of Montal, is another one for you to try. Now this next one is from the house of Healy, and this is Chypre 21. This, I think, is a very, very spicy Chypre. It's ultra spicy, but it has oak moss, saffron, violet leaves, bergamot, musk, rose, rosemary, neroli, sandalwood, patchouli. It's really intense and pungent in the spices, and it overwhelms. But once you get past the spiciness, because when you first spray it, that's all you experience, lots of spices, but it settles to a more classic Chypre. In the end, it's very, very unique. It's a really, really, really awesome brand. And I bought my bottle from, sadly, Twisted Lily's, sale when they were going out, because I was looking for this fragrance for the longest time. But, Barney's didn't have it, and I was thinking I shouldn't spend a full retail, but then I got the discount, and I was really happy with it. So Chypre 21, if you like spices, check it out. It's a wonderful, spicy Chypre fragrance from the house of James Healy, or Healy. Well, I feel like this list is more about fruity Chypres and also floral Chypres, and this is another fruity Chypre, and I really enjoy this one. Again, it kind of is in the ballpark. I'm not saying it's in the ballpark as a smell, but it does hint at it, but more as in this the experience. It's like not overly intense like the Amouage, not a wimp, but just a nice balance, something that you can wear and not be like overwhelmed with the smell. But this is a fruity Chypre from the house of Parle de Parfum called Chypre MOJO. It's got mango, it's got patchouli, it's got bergamot, it's got carnation, but it has those typical DNA of a classic Chypre, but more modernized with some of the notes and the addition of mango fruit in here. Nothing like the Montal. Montal has a lot of other things happening, and you experience like a real Montal. This is a little more subdued, almost like a little more subdued than the late Vengeance Extreme from Juliet Has a Gun, but it's one of those wonderful ones that it's like not overwhelming. It's simplistic, it's a little more minimalistic, but a great, wonderful fruity Chypre fragrance. So Chypre MOJO from the house of Parle de Parfum is one for you to check out, and they sell those at Lucky Scent. So this next one is from the house of Goldfield and Banks. It's Velvet Splendor. This is a very fragrance that, okay, let me try and explain this correctly. It doesn't start out smelling like a Chypre when you first spray it, but it dries down and starts like, oh my god, this is reminding me of those classics from yesteryear. So it's unique that way, and it's a floral Chypre, and it's got lots of mimosa, and mimosa traditionally doesn't go Chypre for me, but then here it does. Mimosa, jasmine, patchouli, bergamot, oakmoss, coumarin, and it's considered a modern Chypre or a spicy floral fragrance, but if you guys don't know this house, you should definitely check it out, because this is one of their more amazing fragrances, I think. I really love it. And it's one of the fragrances that really got me, kickstarted me into enjoying the mimosa note. And we have a video, or I did a video with Dahlia on this note, and we had this featured in that video as well. But if you're looking for something unique as far as a Chypre goes, check out Velvet Splendor, because it has that mimosa note. So as I said, it starts off different, and then it settles to more of a Chypre. So this is Velvet Splendor from the house of Goldfield and Banks. This next one is from one of my favorite houses. I haven't spoken a lot about this house much lately, but I'm going to start back up again. But this is Une Rose Chypre from the house of Tower Perfumes. And oh man, this is so good. When I first bought this fragrance, I was like, wow, this is like a rose jam syrup drink all rolled into one, because it's very rosy to me. It smells like a rose cocktail a little bit, but it's actually Chypre, because it's called Une Rose Chypre. As you can see, rose, cinnamon, bay leaf, geranium, patchouli, labdanum, oak moss, bergamot. It's all there. It's a real Chypre, but it's very unique and very, very rosy. And again, as I said, I grew up with lots of rose cooking, so it reminds me, we had a drink made with rose petals, and it kind of reminds me of that drink. Anyway, Une Rose Chypre from the house of Tower Perfumes. If you like roses and Chypres, check this one out. Now, this next one is also a rose, and it's from the house of Diptyque. It's their latest. It's Eau Capitale. This is so good, guys. I love this one because it reminds me of Tempo, the patchouli one they had, and I feel like what they've done is taken Tempo and added patchouli added rose to it, and giving it a more of a Chypre styling, perhaps adding oak moss and things like that. But according to Diptyque, they credit rose, patchouli, pink pepper, and bergamot in the note. I don't see oak moss, and I don't see labdanum, but really, it does really remind me of a very modern but classically inspired Chypre. Eau Capitale is wonderful. If you like Tempo, and you're thinking if they added rose to it, what it might smell like, then to me it smells like this. So go check it out. It's Eau Capitale, and it's from the house of Diptyque. Now this next one is a house I don't speak too much about, but I really love this one. It's the very first fragrance I smelled from this house, and I fell in love with it. Now this might lean a bit feminine, but I think if you're past that, you might enjoy it, especially if you like rose. This is from the house of Theo Cabanel, and this is called Oja. OHA, and it's considered a Chypre floral. And this one focuses on rose, cardamom, tea, woody notes, bergamot, musk, and again, it's classically inspired. It's a rose dominant Chypre. We got lots of rose dominance here too. We got the florals, we got the roses, and we got the fruits. But this is a great house. I do have a full review of their fragrance Cafe Cabanel on the channel, and I think I've featured this fragrance and a few others on different videos on the channel, but perhaps a review of this particular fragrance is one that I should do, or maybe do a house overview, because I do own several of their fragrances. If you're interested, put a comment down so I can find out. But if you like a great rose Chypre, to me, both of these, actually the three of these, are all rose, and they're completely different, especially the Tower. Tower is like so different compared to these two. These two might kind of be related somewhat, but the Tower is so different. But all three have rose in it, and to me this one's the most classic of all. Anyway, Oja from the house of Teo Cabanel, and that is a wonderful Chypre floral fragrance. All right, I hope you guys are enjoying this video. Now we're going to get to some ones that are probably very familiar, especially to you guys out there. This one is considered a Chypre. I don't really think it really is a full-on classically inspired Chypre. It's very modern. It's considered a fruity Chypre. It's AVENTUS. Do you guys like this particular fragrance? Let me know if you like it, if you don't like it, and also let me know if you have any questions on any of the other fragrances that I've spoken about so far. Creed is a very, very polarizing scent. True perfume snobs don't like it. Ones that really like compliments really love this one. I wear this fragrance when I want something simplistic, not overwhelming, not intense, but something nice. And mixed in with my body chemistry, it does do wonderful, it's a crowd pleaser. People like it. So it's considered a fruity Chypre: pineapple, birchwood, blackcurrant, oak moss, bergamot, apples, ambergris. Where are the notes of labdanum? I don't see labdanum credited here, so I feel like it's not necessarily a true Chypre, but perhaps it's just missing because they don't credit that note. Either way, it is a great fragrance. I do enjoy it, but I feel like it's not necessarily a true Chypre. It's very, very modern. So this is AVENTUS from the house of Creed. And speaking of AVENTUS, I have to feature this one in here because it's also a Chypre. This is NISHANE's HACIVAT. This is also considered a fruity Chypre. Now, if I want something a little more intense and beast mode, I guess, I would go with the NISHANE HACIVAT because I feel like it's more intense, and I feel like it's got lots more woody tones or woody notes and more intense, what do you call it? The oak moss is more prominent here, but this one's all about pineapple, oak moss, grapefruit, patchouli, bergamot, woody notes, but it's great. I really love this. Compared to the two, I really love this one, but if I want not intensity, I would go with the AVENTUS. And if I want beast mode, I know some of you guys don't like that word, I would go with HACIVAT. So, I mean, I prefer this one because most of the time I want intensity, but sometimes when I'm really overwhelmed with smells, I go with something lighter. Anyway, this is HACIVAT from the house of NISHANE. Check it out. It's wonderful. This next one is from the house of Santa Maria Novella. This is MELOGRANO, this one right here. Now this one's all about, well actually first I should say it's a fruity Chypre, and it's focusing on MELOGRANO, which is pomegranate in Italian, and it's a great, great house, the Santa Maria Novella. If you guys ever go to Florence, not current now, but you know, in the future, definitely go to this perfume shop. It's very historic, and actually I have a full video tour of the whole facilities. Go check it out. But this one is really lovely. It's a very modern but very classic, because when I put my nose on it, it kind of takes me back to yesteryear, like the 70s, like even like I was like 5 or 6 years old, going to a grandparent's house, and the smells they have in their, you know, their bedroom, and then also the bathroom with the soaps and things like that. It kind of has that kind of a smell. It also reminds me of a smell of aldehydes, like in Chanel No. 5 or Calèche from Hermes. So, but it's fruity with the pomegranates, the MELOGRANO. It's very, very unique for me. It's wonderful. And they have oak moss, orris, popanax, pomegranate, vetiver, ylang, patchouli, labdanum, bergamot. It's all in there. All the notes that are, you know, that would go into making a Chypre is there, and then you add the fruitiness of the pomegranate. But whatever else is in there in here, it's just to die for. Anyway, MELOGRANO from the house of Santa Maria Novella, a wonderful Chypre. Now this next one, I would have to say this perfumer and this house is known for a lot of Chypres. In fact, they have a fragrance called Chypre Extraordinaire, and I do not own it, but they do have a lot of others, and one of them is DIAGHILEV, this one right here. This is phenomenal and very, very classically inspired Chypre. It's a dry Chypre, but it's also a fruity Chypre because it's got a peach note in here, but you do have lots of Oakmoss, Civet, Ylang, the peach, jasmine, musk, leather, labdanum, rose. I would say this one is like really, really borrowing from the classics, and I hear that it's inspired. Well, a lot of people say it smells like, what do you call it? The Mitsuko. So have you guys compared? I have not compared. I don't have a vintage bottle of Mitsuko, but whatever they've done here, whatever ROJA's done here, it's quite phenomenal, and it's really, really wonderful. So this is DIAGHILEV, a fruity Chypre from the house of ROJA Parfums. And then we're going to an indie house again that is also non-IFRA compliant. This is Chypre SIAM from the house of Rogue Perfumery. It's a floral Chypre, but this one actually has substituted the bergamot with Kaffir lime. And if you guys have ever had Thai food, you've tasted Kaffir lime leaves, I believe, because they use them in soups and things like that. And I really love it. And this one does, like when you put your nose on it, like you study the smell, you can start picking up how the Kaffir lime leaves smell, and it starts reminding me a little bit of Thai food, but then again, it's really, really unique here. Kaffir lime leaves, Oakmoss, jasmine, Civet, Ylang spices, benzoin, basil, leather, sandalwood, wonderful stuff. Now, I bought these two from Lucky Scent in New York City, this one in Mousse Illuminée. I really prefer Mousse Illuminée a little more than this because I really love the way that smells. This one's a little more challenging because it has civet and it can get animalic, but it's wonderful. It's really, really classically inspired, and the bottle is to die for, as you can see right there. That logo is amazing. I love Art Deco, and this is one of my favorites. Anyway, this is Chypre SIAM from the house of Rogue Perfumery. All right, guys, we have 5 more to go, and if you have any questions on anything that I've discussed so far, please put it down so I can find out what it is and perhaps answer it for you. But this next one is one that I reviewed later last year. It's called Chypre Shot from the house of Olfactive Studio. This and this particular one from MDCI are both created by Bertrand Duchaffoul, but they're completely different. This one I would consider a spicy Chypre because it's full-on big dose of cardamom, but it's very ambery, and then I also pick up a really big dose of coffee with tea, so you get both of those notes together. So this is a very modern Chypre to me. It doesn't really remind me of classic Chypres, but then again, in the bottom there, in the base, little hints of classic stuff comes out. But for me, it's very, very modern. It's a very spicy Chypre fragrance. It's got lots of cardamom, as I said, amber notes, oak moss, saffron, labdanum, coffee, black pepper, tea. And I don't see oak moss listed here, but typically it's probably there in its very minute forms because of IFRA. But this is a very, very unique Chypre. If you like that sort of unique touches with the coffee and the tea and the cardamom, check it out. This is Chypre Shot from the house of Olfactive Studio. All right, this next one is from the house of Parfums DUSITA. This is Le Sillage Blanc, this one right here, and this is a leather Chypre, and it's a very, very green Chypre. When you smell it, you can smell the leather. The leather is not overwhelmingly pungent. It's also very, very green because it has a very, very prominent galbanum note. So along with the galbanum and leather and artemisia, more green touches, oak moss, tobacco, orange blossom. It's really, really wonderful. This is actually reminds me of classic fragrances as well. It is inspired by classic fragrances, according to the perfumer behind the brand, who I've done many videos with. You should check those out. But if you like leather, if you like green notes, because the galbanum is very prominent, really, really prominent. Galbanum is very bitter. So bitter, and along with the leather and then the oak moss, it's really, truly one of a kind. Well, not one of a kind because it reminds me of classics. Check it out. It's Le Sillage Blanc, a leather Chypre from the house of Parfums DUSITA. A few more left, guys. We're almost done. And this next one is a very, very fresh Chypre for me. And it's a brand that is very, very new to me with a very, very complicated French name. Les Indemodables Chypre AZURAL, this one right here. If you like oranges, this is it for you right here. Now this one is very, very orangey. It's got major orange note. And of course, as you can see, it says Chypre AZURAL. The name has the word Chypre in it. And I like that. Then you definitely get to know it's a Chypre fragrance. But here it's orangey, and then tarragon has a slight bit of licoriciness to it. That's a note in here. You've got patchouli, you've got amber, you've got rose, and I feel like they've left off oak moss and they've they've substituted the oak moss with the patchouli in here, but it's really, really lovely. It's great longevity. I love it in the summer heat, and it just really, really does have a very kind of a balanced kind of a smell, because oranges are very, very comforting and cozy for me, whereas lemons can be like sharp and uplifting. The oranges can be very, very relaxing. It's a great orangey fragrance. It's a unique Chypre. It's a citrus Chypre for me, but wonderful. A new house from, I believe, the south of France. Check them out. Les Indemodables Chypre AZURAL, citrus Chypre. This next one is from the house of LABO. It's Ylang 49. Oh my god, I love this one. Very, very long lasting. I fell in love with it, and I bought it in the Paris Rue Saint Honoré boutique, and have been really, really obsessed with this one. Now, what I like about this one is the patchouli, the Ylang, because it's called Ylang 49 after all, and it's got oak moss, it's got gardenia, vetiver, benzoin, sandalwood, but it has a great trail. It's the sexy trail, and even though it's called Ylang 49, I feel like the oak moss is really, really prominent. The patchouli is very prominent, and it has some classic touches to the fragrance. I would rank this really high if I was to rank Le Labo fragrances, because I really love it. It's Ylang 49 from the house of Le Labo, and it's a Chypre floral fragrance. And last but not least, we're going to the house of Parfums and NICOLAI, and this is Odalisque, this one right here. This is considered a Chypre floral. I had to think twice about it and smell the fragrance. What we've got here is oak moss, lily of the valley, jasmine, orris, bergamot, musk, and clementine. This one really does hint at the classics. It takes me back. It reminds me of classic Chypre fragrances that I remember smelling growing up around friends and relatives of my parents. And I like that kind of a fragrance. Classics always take me back. Scent memories come up and things like that. It's what I like about perfumes to begin with, and not only just to smell great, but also the memories it brings back. But this one really does have those classic touches, and this is a great house, Parfums and NICOLAI. If you don't know this house, do check out their fragrances that I've reviewed on the channel. Just search for Parfums and NICOLAI. But if you like a classic Chypre, definitely check out Odalisque. It's classic, but it's also very, very modern, because it's, you know, current. It's a fragrance not from a long time ago, is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, Odalisque from the house of Parfums and NICOLAI. And that is the last fragrance that's considered a Chypre from the niche houses. Guys, what do you think of these fragrances? Do you know any of them? Do you have any of them, or have you been wanting any of them? And now that I've talked about them, have you gotten a little more curious or more interested in these fragrances? Do let me know. Put a comment down so that I can find out. If you own any of them and you've been wearing them, also please let me know, because I like to know what people have and what they wear, because some of these fragrances are very classically inspired, and Chypre, as discussed with Dana a few days ago, are classic, and it takes some time to get into it. And as I've been saying to you guys, it took me a while. I've been trying to, you know, grow my open up my palette with Chypres for a good 2 or so years, because I've been requested a Chypre video for quite some time, but it was now time and for me to get this video out and do this whole series of 5 different videos. Accidentally planned, but great accident, and then, you know, cap it off with this 23 niche fragrances that are considered Chypre fragrances. Anyway, guys, that wraps up the Chypre series of videos. Look forward to new videos next week. I don't have a theme next week. I am working towards a vetiver theme sometime in the next few weeks. We shall see if that kind of happens. For now, thanks so much for watching, and thank you for tuning in to the videos that I've put out this week, with the one non-Chypre video for Mancera's Crazy for Oud. Other than that, guys, I hope everyone's staying safe. Thank you for your continued support. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Otherwise, please like this video, please share it. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.